Yeah, I have some great news. Great news. I was reading a pillar of the synth community has returned from the dead.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm. Give you some guesses.
Ooh. Is it the Synthrotech guy?
No. So you might think that it might be the self-proclaimed community essential Tom Butcher of Patchworks. But you're wrong.
Incorrect.
You might think it's Ben Jordan.
Yeah.
Who did come back with a new gear review video.
Wow.
A month out of retirement.
Sticking to those guns.
For the Solar 42 ambient synth. Correct. But that is not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about William of WMD.
Oh.
Coming back for real.
I did see that.
Yeah. That just made me excited because like you had people like Patchworks talking about how they're so essential to the community.
Right.
They need a bailout of
$250,000.
$250,000 fucking dollars.
Yeah.
Sorry to just dip right into that, but it's
hard not to. It's everywhere right now.
And I'm sure it'll come back up. But I wanted to start out with something positive because we talked a lot about WMD kind of folding over the year and bummed us all out because we're all big fans of their stuff. But coming back, he said they are bringing back old classics and also new things to come.
Is it going to be the same people? Are they rehiring people who left?
I think they slimmed down a little. And they're also, from what I gather, not going to really be working with distributors.
They're just direct.
They want to do direct sales,
smart.
and they want to establish a good vibe with their customers. And that way they can control things a bit better.
Yeah.
I guess they won't have to worry about deadbeats like Patchworks not paying them for their orders. Is that too negative? Am I going too harsh already?
I mean, it's very negative. I don't think it's too harsh.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not throwing me.
But yeah, Williams said that he is excited to be making art and music again.
Fuck yeah.
He said they'll be doing direct sales so they can keep prices reasonable and develop a relationship with their customers.
I saw that and I wondered, like, is that new company, AMMT? Is that it?
I think they're merging again.
Okay.
I think it's going to be WMD proper. He said they're going to do a new line of the pedals, the Geiger counter pedals.
Nice.
Version 3 of the digital VCA module.
I did notice that.
Yeah, I know you're a fan of that one. So that's kind of cool. No hints as to like what new stuff they're going to be coming out with, but yeah, just thought we'd start on a good note for 2024.
I'll be curious to see what kind of panels they make since they can't make the panels they used to make because they don't have that machine anymore.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Like, yeah, because they have those like custom, almost like engraved kind of.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of good shit.
Yeah.
And they seem like, I don't know, I've been tangentially appreciating Alex from WMD's videos because he does great explanations of the Rossum assimilator and how he uses it in live sets, and I've actually learned like a lot about it from those videos, and it's been like shout out to Alex for those videos. They're really good.
I too have been getting back into his videos. I wanted to rebuy the Architect for probably the third time in the last 6 years. I just always have I always come back around to that module. Like there'll be times where I won't need it for months, and then when I do want it, nothing else really does what it does, and then I find myself buying it again. And this time I was considering doing the triad with it, which I've never had previously. It's like an expander for it. It gives you like 3 voices out of it, to do chord stuff and things like that.
I forgot about that.
So I stumbled on a couple of his videos that were an overview for all of it, and I don't know. It was nice to get a re-education on the Architect itself, and then he just does such a good job with everything else, showing good examples of how to use it and things.
I mean, that's someone who's crafted a skill. Alex has been spending a lot of time making these videos and keeps doing it, and I think they're just getting more and more refined. It's very cozy in a way that a lot of other videos. Yeah.
He's honest too, because I know when the Push 3 standalone video came out, you could tell he was just as disappointed I was that the MIDI sync was garbage on it, or it couldn't sync correctly, and it's well, I can't use this for a live set, so that's fucking cool. And I just appreciated that he was pretty open about those types of things and not like trying to make it nice for everybody, you know?
Right.
Speaking of quirky clocks, I was like an inch away from buying a mellow dicer that I saw pop up.
I noticed you on that. Yeah.
So I was real close to getting it until I started reading up on all the issues people are having. Like, it's not just like an occasional bug. It's just straight up like fact that thing does not clock externally for shit.
That's
in fact, some people on like Modwhaler were calling it the worst clock in all of Euro.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, like, or the worst clock sync, I should say. Yeah. I think if it's, running its own or it's stable, but and they just released the expander for it, which is like close to $200, but they're saying that if you use that, it kind of rectifies it.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, so like a lot of people aren't really feeling that, and some people are still having issues even following it, like still having wonky clock. So I thought that was kind of weird that it's the year 2024 and we have a major brand releasing a sequencer that can't be clocked. Like, that's really bizarre.
It seems like it's a solved problem that
you would think.
You would think.
Like, people on the forums were like trying to come up with their own solution and like proposing like soldering mods on the back of the module just to make this thing work right. And I'm like, I can't support that. You know, like I'll buy one when it works correctly. If it can't clock, then it's useless to me, really.
Yeah, that's a sign. Like, what else is broken if it can't clock, right? That just makes me doubt your like, shit.
What system were they using where it was working fine? You either knew and put it out, or you have a very, very specific thing that it works under, and just tell everyone what that is, and maybe they can reproduce it. But
yeah, I mean, I remember people having problems when it first came out, and that's why I hesitated then. And then when I saw the expander came out and like new firmware, I'm like, clearly they've fixed it, right? And it seems like a lot of people were under the same impression, and then the first reports were like, no, the firmware doesn't fix it. It just kind of adds functionality for the expander, which they're trying to say is a solution, but it's really spending $200 for a module you already own just to get it to clock properly a solution. I would say no.
That's fucked up. Yeah, because I saw you post about that, and I was curious where you were going with it, because I always forget about that module, and then I saw Stanislav Tolkachev, techno artist from Ukraine that I really like. He had one in his case recently, and I was like, oh, Melodicer. Forgot about that. So it's a weirdo, but if it can't clock, then I don't care.
You know, I love my stochastic generative shit, you know, and I was curious about that one, but it's not a cheap one or a small one for that matter.
It's big. Most of the Ramona stuff's pretty big.
And it seems like that expander would be good if you own the Ramona Performer. But aside from that, I couldn't visualize a lot of good use for it being worth the $200.
Yeah, that type of functionality is not where I'm at right now, for the most part.
Because you don't even get CV voices out of it. It's just MIDI. Right. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that always seemed odd too.
But that's what kind of got me down the WMD Architect with Triad direction.
I saw with their Volterra stuff, the way they just introduced that new calibration routine for them too. Like, it had me looking at the Metron and Volterra again, but I'm so invested in like the Hapax and that other stuff. It just doesn't make, I don't have room. I definitely don't have room for it either. So I've always wanted to try that one. Never quite did though. But I like that they keep Alex obviously uses that combo a ton, and it seems like it works well for a lot of people.
Yeah, we saw him go crazy with it live at NobCon.
Yeah.
So,
Craig.
You know what I'm going to ask.
Jeez, what episode is it? I don't even know.
You're
48.
You're the source of 48. This information. If you don't know,
it's kind of crazy.
It's unknowable.
We're almost to 50.
Getting there.
Yeah. Are we going to do something for 50?
Yeah.
Yeah, never do another episode.
It just ends.
Just ends at 50.
50 and done.
Go out like never mind. It was a stupid joke anyways. Probably
like
very insensitive.
It was going to be very, very offensive.
It would have been. I'm just gonna catch myself right there. I'm in one of those moods. You might have to rein me in from time to time.
Oh
today.
yeah, I'm in a mood too.
Hell yeah.
Well, let's get spicy. Let's do this. Yeah. So one of the things we talked about, one of the themes of this episode was going to be a little bit of a year-end wrap-up. It's a little bit late. Apologies. This is mostly my fault.
Yeah, it's February.
It is, but
we're doing our wrap up in February.
Yeah, I got COVID.
Time.
I got COVID. And
it's no excuse.
Yeah.
You caught me off guard.
It's a valid excuse.
That was going to be my excuse and my only excuse. But I'm no longer with COVID, and so we can record. But so this is a little bit late. But I think we should, still do it.
Punxsutawney Phil already saw his shadow.
Isn't he only like 30% right? Like he has like an incredibly low percentage.
He called for an early spring.
There's another gopher out in the middle of Pennsylvania that apparently has a much better prediction rate.
Oh, really?
Who the hell is he?
You want to place him?
I don't know.
Didn't know we had gopher gang wars out here in PA.
There are weather predicting animal like beef. Not beef made from weather predicting animals, but conflict.
Like carbonated beef.
Terry, brought to you by Stamps.com. Gopher. We're not affiliated with Stamps.com.
I only follow weather reports from koalas.
Yeah.
And pangolins.
Was I looking at today with those like kind of cat bears with a prehensile tail? What the fuck are they called? It starts with a B.
Owlbear? That's fine. Don't edit any of this, by the way.
Yeah,
this is
just gold.
Dead air.
We're filling the gap. Friendly banter. We're talking about bears with prehensile tails. I'm still not sure what we're talking about, but I like it.
2023 shit.
So yeah, shit from 2023. I think we each have little lists of things that we want to talk about.
Tiny little lists.
The highs and lows, 2023.
So many lows.
So many.
A lot of mid. I feel like there was just like not too much exciting, not too much like truly dreadful, just a lot of, we just got by. We got through the year.
We made it through.
Yeah, I think that's the vibe, my general vibe for 2023.
With some exceptions, my top stuff is like older stuff too. Like not necessarily from 2023, but new to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of it was.
Well, would you like to start?
Yeah. Glaring one for me is like Pam's Pro. It's almost like great module. I really enjoy it. It is a modulator, does some shit that like nothing else will really do. They updated a lot. That expander's good. I like the cross ops. It'll make like, you can make like bouncing ball stuff. Someone was talking to me about like the flex operations and how you can do like bouncing balls and like ramp ups of the values of things within there and like how it changes. And
I didn't know you could do bouncing ball with it.
Yeah. There's a lot of depth into that, and I'm still like learning it. I finally got over, like, I know how to navigate it without thinking now. That took a little bit for me, just because menus are weird. But
yeah, I still have the Pro, and I still use it in pretty much every patch. So I haven't even really looked into the differences with Pro.
Oh wait,
so
you
like,
have the new workout.
Or I'm sorry,
yeah.
with the new, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So new can do bouncing ball?
Yeah. With those like
can
flex
Pro?
operations.
And I just have been missing it, or
I don't know.
Because I don't think there's anything like that in there. But I could have just been missing out.
I'm not familiar. Like I wasn't into Pam's for a while because I was like, oh, that seemed really menu divey to me, and I'd rather have other stuff. And then Pro kind of pushed me over because I got some Alm stuff and was starting to really like their gear. But it's, as a modulator goes, it just crushes it for me. I really like using it.
I bought
tight clocks and everything. It's good.
Yeah, that's mainly what I was using it for, was like clock dividing and multiplying for a while, and then I started using it as like synced LFO stuff. Like slowly but surely, I started to dive deeper and deeper into it over the last year and a half or so since I bought it. But the newest version, that's new workout, right?
Pro
is
the
new
work.
So I have new workout.
So wait,
okay,
new is not the new.
It's so confusing. I don't know why you wouldn't just use like numbers
before Pro. Yeah, I know. Pro's like, yeah, it's like supposed to be the bigger one with the bigger screen, but it's a weird naming thing. Oh yeah, it's like the only modulator I know. It'll do like, you can do divisions of like 10,024th of like a bar. You know, it'll go slow as fuck. And I really like that because a lot of modulators, like the peg will top out at like 8 or 16 in the new one or something like that. And like sometimes I want to go a lot slower, and it does that without it being shitty choppy either. They have some like smoothing to some extent that Yeah, I like PAMs. I like navigating that screen too. It's very easy to read. It's fun.
So how have you been using it? Like, where is it sitting in your mix?
Sending lots of LFOs out to stuff. Sending clock divisions if I don't feel like dividing the master clock down for certain things. I don't know, just a bunch of different open LFOs are like, I really like it that I can go make weirder LFOs there. That's one of its things. It's not necessarily always bread and butter. I like the way you can tweak the basic waveforms to make them a little off from the normal shapes. Yeah. But the slow, like the ability to have really slow divisions and shit like that, I really like that.
I might have to upgrade finally. For the most part, I just thought it had like a better screen, so I didn't really dig too far into it. But yeah, if it's got more features.
Yeah, because you can use the expander. It's got all those CV inputs and the knob. The knobs for the
that's why I didn't buy it too. I remember because it wasn't compatible with my expanders that I have currently for my PAMs.
It's a new thing.
I did buy the newest version for VCV Rack, and I managed to replicate an issue that causes it to crash the desktop.
Really?
Yeah, so I've never even dug into it. I found out just kind of on accident, if you hit it with a clock, I was hitting it with like a 24 PPQ clock, and whenever I would reset it and hit play, it would sometimes be fine, sometimes it would crash. So like I just opened up a patch that had nothing but my clock source and PAMs, and I would just spam start. And like at random, one of the times I clicked it, it would just crash. And I was like, all right, I'm taking this out of my setup. Yeah.
That's good QA. Nicely done. I'm deputizing a QA.
Because I use a lot of modules in VCV Rack, and I've never had any crashes. And then all of a sudden I had a patch with that and in it, and I kept noticing it would randomly crash sometimes when I'd hit play. And I was like, it's got to be that, right? So like, yeah, I wanted to like sum it down and found it was that one. So yeah.
Root cause analysis.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Isolated the offending.
I've done some troubleshooting in my day.
Sounds like
not my first rodeo.
That was one of my top ones from last year that did come out last year.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it did.
They
released a lot of shit last year. They put out a bunch of new stuff. They're pretty good with that.
We don't have to look it up. You say it is 2023?
We'll count it.
Yeah, we're counting it.
Close enough.
Don't look it up, listeners. Don't email us if you found out the actual day it was released. Don't want to fucking hear it.
No, I'll create a rule to delete that email.
Right to spam.
We just don't read the email, which is kind of what we do now. So
I do.
Oh, do you?
I'm insane. I check it every day.
Really? Holy
but I
shit.
check like it's one of those things where it's just like, oh, I select that account in Chrome now because I have like 3 email accounts. And, it's.
No, I'm glad someone's doing it because I haven't checked it in years.
I check on occasion. Usually if Nick tells me it's something to read.
That's not really checking. That's being told to go look at something.
Always seeing if stimming needs any more gear to be reviewed,
For the most part, I rely on our listeners to talk to us through our Discord, which you can join for $5 a month on our Patreon.
Fuck, you are getting really good at that. Like that was just eerily seamless.
Yeah, I'm good. Can I go next?
Yeah, you go next.
I don't know.
And what order are we doing this in? Our top first or like our third pick first? Was that your top pick?
It wasn't my top. It was a good one.
Okay.
But it's
not
like
should we
my
do
top.
reverse order then?
Yeah, let's do top last.
Okay.
And on the high note.
Fuck, you guys, your order is so much more complicated than mine. Oh, okay, yeah, let's go.
All right. My number 3, meaning my least favorite of my top 3
Jesus,
of
so fucking
2023
complicated.
was a weird one that I didn't get until the very end of the year. I've only had it for about a month now, roughly a month and a half. SDKC Instruments Helicool. It's a synth voice from Japan. And I got mine before it was even in stock at Perfect Circuit. I was going back and forth with the manufacturer directly. And got one from him direct. So I had to pay that high price tag to ship from Tokyo. But Perfect Circuit has them in stock now. I could have just waited, I guess, but I'm not very patient.
So what does this do?
It's hard to explain. So in fact,
I'm going to demand that you explain.
I will try.
I want an explanation. I've been waiting for this explanation.
So I have no concept of how this thing works. It's more like there's some kind of complex engine in it that is generative in a musical way, where it'll like kind of predict what note should follow the previous one that was generated.
So it's just a sequencer. It's just generating notes.
Nope,
or notes
it's
and
a
gates?
full synth voice.
So it's a full voice.
Full synth voice, and I have the expander for it too, which gives more control over it. It's got a built-in VCA envelope filter and polyphonic. I guess you could use it.
Is it a standalone synth?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
No, it's a standalone module.
Okay.
In a very small package. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's complicated. It's a weird little beast, and that's exactly what I was looking for. Because I had given up on trying to get the VanEck X anytime soon. And I had a gap in my rig for a year that the VanEck was going to fill. So giving up on that, I was like, I need to find a weird synth voice to fill there. And it's perfect for that, in my opinion. It's complete opposite, I think, from what I would have been making with the VanEck, which was like industrial-ish, noisy soundscapes and drones and such. Whereas like Helical, it's very musical. And you can, while it is generative and kind of off the rails in that regard, you can lock it, kind of like a Turing.
Yeah.
And you can CV that lock control as well, so you can come up with complex, patches to, go in and out of the level of generative craziness that you want.
The synth voice and the synth engine, what's it based on?
It's wavetable.
Okay.
Wavetables. I don't know exactly what banks. You can edit them with, what is it, Wave Edit? Yeah. And upload your own. I haven't looked into that. I've just been playing around with the ones provided. But it has 8 banks of preset wave forms that you can go through. I haven't scoped them out or anything, but it seems to go from like smooth to more crazy as you progress through the banks. Definitely not like Piston Honda level, with the banks or anything, but I'm getting enough use out of the ones that are on there so far. So.
Does it have like a volt per octave input on it?
It does.
Okay.
If you plug 1 volt per octave into the root note input, I believe you can control it that way. And it can also take a gate input. If you turn the poly knob, might be saying the wrong knob. I don't have one sitting in front of me. All the way counterclockwise, it then can receive clock. So yeah, it's a strange little thing, I don't know. It's neat. I don't know what to compare it to because I don't think there's anything else like it. I don't think it's for everyone, but it can do neat little, I want to say like trilly synth lines if you want, or you can slow it down and do like melodic, ambient, generative sequences with it.
Let's see. And what kind of CV control do you have over like
with the expander? Over everything. Like you can control the filter cutoff, what type of filter, the length of the notes, and there's also a parameter called index, which controls whether or not the internal envelope is going to control the velocity or the filter and velocity. So yeah, it's neat. I've been getting creative with it. At first, I thought it was like going to be one of those things where it was just trying to do one thing only, but and not be versatile enough for me. And while it can be one tricky if you just use it at face value, it definitely has some depth to it too. I've even been getting some weird noisy stuff out of it and some experimental types things out of it, especially at the faster rates of note generation. It just kind of becomes like a new wave shape when you speed it up.
Go that fast. That's
cool. It's really weird. But that's my number 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
You, sir, over there at the end of this table.
I'm not going to go into it too much because I feel like we've already talked about it a lot. TBC2 from LZX.
Oh, there you go.
I guess I'm almost 50 and most of my life is failure and disappointment. That's been like, the hallmark of my life. And completely by surprise, that's not what this is. Fucking nailed it. I've been using it a lot more. I had a video show recently, and so I was using it a lot over the last couple of months. Stable as a brick house. No problems with that.
She's a brick house.
Keep going.
She's mighty.
And what is she doing?
Gonna let all hang out or something?
Well, yes. A little more confidence than that. Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, she is letting it all hang out. Yeah. But yeah, so and the thing that was really exciting to me that I didn't realize it was going to do so well is taking a lot of signal from glitchy video from a Tachyons Plus optic glitch device, BPMCs.
So played out, man.
What?
I'm so tired of glitchy video stuff. I want to see crisp, crystal clean video. Why is no one doing that?
Like Disney movies.
Like I go to a rave, they just want to distort and glitch out the video. Like, see some nice video. Let's see some 8K.
Simulations of white bed sheets.
Yes.
Real fucking
Nick knows
chuggy.
what I'm talking about.
As chuggy as you can make video. That's what I want.
Wow. Well, for those of us who are still behind the times and doing a lot of stuff with glitch,
2023 shit.
We are talking about the past. 2024 might be a different story. But one of the problems with doing a lot of glitchy things that it'll drop synchronization. It'll drop and just completely get out of sync. The TBC2 does its best to say like, okay, here's the last frame. It will still present that and send it to its outputs. So you don't get the thing of like the blue screen on a projector or TV's just crapping out entirely. You still have something, and whenever it can pick signal back up again, it picks up right where I left off. I think this is like the secret sauce for a lot of glitch correction, because you can get it in some of the mixers that have generous gen log, but those are big giant external. This is the first time where it's all in the modular ecosystem in your rig, having that correction right there. Has been huge, and it's part of the signal flow, so you can have things coming and going nicely. So yeah, it was a long wait, and I was getting nervous about either it not being done ever or not delivering on everything it promised. It does everything and has a ramp generator. That's a pretty nice little bonus.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my first foray into this year-end wrap-up.
I second that on TBC2. I also got one. I only had to wait like half a year. Not you. You waited maybe multiple years.
Multiple years, yeah.
I will say I love it. I have not done the sync correction too much yet. I love it for upscaling from SD to HD. That's the main use case for me. But I will say the fan in it is incredibly fucking loud.
Yeah.
And I'm on the LZX Discord, and I know that like there are some in-progress solutions that they're testing right now, actually, that they should know in a couple weeks after they burn more in, and they might do like mail-in replacements for some people.
Oh, that'd be great.
For a lot of people, it doesn't matter. For me, like my hearing's dicey, so like I literally bought a fucking closed server case for it, new rack rails just to put the TBC2 and the ESG3, because you don't need to tweak. Well, when I'm using it, I don't need to tweak them all the time.
Right.
Yeah. Granted, it's nice to change some of the settings, but that was my solution for now, just to like isolate the noise a little. I put it under my desk.
So I have it beside my structure, which has a high-pitched, whiny fan, and my memory palace, which has a high-pitched, whiny fan.
Right.
So it's just adding to the cacophony of, I assume like if I put my hand in there, it would just be molten hot, because these fans are just going off and just sort of blowing hot air onto one another.
It's like 90s computing in some ways. It's similar sounds. I will say my structure is always dead quiet. I don't know if the fan is working or not, but it's always silent. My memory palace, definitely loud, but not like that high-pitched component that are in some people's TBC2s, apparently, because people have bought multiple ones because they had issues.
Yeah.
And they're like variances across some of the fans, it seems. So
just double check your structure. That's a setting to turn the fan off. So you may have at one point turned it off and been like, oh my God, fuck this.
Yeah, I don't think I did, but I also haven't, I've been sticking to the Gen 3 HD stuff mainly.
Well, and they said that you would only rarely need the fan anyway, so it may not even be an issue.
Right.
Maybe your studio's too fire, Dave.
It's too fire?
Yeah.
Isn't like good or is it on fire?
Spicy, hot. Those fans got to run all the time.
Yeah,
that's true.
Alarms going off.
I do have like a little sauna going on up there. Yeah,
too hot.
But I mean, no, it's the opposite actually. Because I have like air conditioning on in the middle of winter, fans on all over the place. Maybe that's why I don't hear it, is because I do have fans in this room because I'm like hot as soon as it gets up to 40 degrees. So maybe it's just all the other fans in the room have canceled it out.
Yeah. It's like my first job where I worked like sitting in the server room. And when that thing would turn off, it was like just everything in the world stopped for a second. It's like, fuck.
Well, that was it. That's it for my first entry.
Your first third entry.
What?
Of which you only have one, but it was your first one.
First one of the third. It's from 2023.
Nick, you're next.
I am next. Okay. 2023. Miso cornflakes. Granular module. Fuck, I like that thing. I like how it sounds. It's going to be hard not to talk about the endless processor a little during this review.
Well, can you give our listeners a quick overview of what you're talking about?
As you know, from the last episode, I was diving into the granular options that I had. Ended up getting rid of the Mojave just because there's nothing wrong with it. It just is like a granular processor that's bound into a bunch of design choices that I didn't feel like going down. Miso cornflakes doesn't do live processing. That's the main difference between it and beads or something like that. So you're going to sample into it. It's a granular sampler, capture a buffer, and then manipulate it. As I said the last time, the controls are very simple and straightforward, but I love using it. It's one of those modules now where I probably don't even need labels on it anymore because I know exactly like what each knob does. I can understand where it's going. I love the sound quality of it. I love taking gear and making loops of it out of that because it'll also do it in a clickless way, much like the endless processor. But yeah, I fucking love that thing. I use it in my music pretty much constantly right now in some form because I think the texture of it is amazing. I even saw, as I was going through their Instagram, just like, get a module, you'd kind of immerse yourself in it for a little, trying to figure out what tricks are in there. And Robert Henke from Ableton, Mono Lake, who made Granulator 2 and now 3 for Ableton, was talking, like in there commenting on how much he loved cornflakes. And I could tell that dude is like a very particular about sound quality and stuff like that. And there's something about that module that I just really fucking love. Something about the sound and the way it's designed. It's just like a really fucking elegant thing. And man, it sounds like it's like that, has that clarity of beads, but still can get a little smudgy like clouds. But there's just a lot of room for exploration in it. This one I can't imagine ever parting with.
Does it have any modes for diffusing your grains?
Yes. The bottom left knob does diffusion, I think.
Well, fuck. I'm going to buy
melodic. One. Yeah, dude. I recommend it. And to be honest, like it's probably one if you didn't like. I've been on the cusp of getting 2 because I want to have 2 buffers that I can manipulate at the same time sometimes. So
I feel you. I got 2 monsoons still for that exact reason. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I granulize my grains.
Yeah, I do it.
I do serial or parallel. Sometimes having 2 of them. So
yeah, I do that a lot now too. Like beads into that, or
hell yeah,
yeah, that's a lot of fun. Or into
it's a deep rabbit hole, man.
It is. Like Typhoon into beads. You can spend a lot of time just comparing like Typhoon and beads, or like Monsoon and beads, and how different they are. But like, man, Amelie wrote some good shit in there. There's some magic. Yeah, miso cornflakes. If you're looking for a granular option and you don't want like strictly real-time processing, you can kind of trick it into doing it by always like triggering record again, and kind of having a loop over and over. But it's one where I like to like take a chunk. I'm like, ooh, that chunk will sound good in cornflakes kind of. And then I just like play with that for a while. Mm-hmm. And then now I might sample that back into the assimilator and then sample it back into the cornflakes again. So I do a lot of reprocessing right now.
Where does it end, Nick? Where does it end?
Yeah, where do you draw the line?
It gets shitty after a while. A couple runs through the masher and there's nothing left. But yeah, another strong, and that didn't come out in 2023, but it was not super available for a while.
I don't think it was available for the most part until 2023 though.
And then it kind of like a couple batches came out, and I managed to get on one. I got mine. I think I said this last time. It didn't have any buttons on it.
Yeah. Yeah. What was up with that again?
I don't know. They just weren't in the box.
That was new?
Yeah. It was new. So I guess
What
it was
the
just
fuck?
like, I don't know if they just like shipped it. They're like, kill them all, let FedEx sort it out. But they sent them and they hooked me up with the black panel. So shouts to them.
Nice.
They also have this bicycle looper.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
And I hit them up about it too. I was like, love this module. It's great. What's up with that looper? No response or anything.
No.
So wait, it's not real, or
I don't know. There's some, I've seen like a couple people with them, but I think they were just actual beta modules. But I'm still like eyeing up loopers a little bit on the side, like in rack. Like I almost tried that Lubod, the Instro one, but I just like, I don't need to do that right now. I've still got fucking Ableton too, so that kind of like, this works perfectly.
nice.
Yeah, cornflakes. Good shit. Big recommend.
I like it.
Greg.
My number 2 is one we've already discussed, so I won't waste too much time dipping back into it, but it's a strong runner. IntelliGel Sea Legs. Yeah, I just want to reiterate. I think
So it's had some legs, so to speak.
Haha, yeah. It's
I'm not proud of that at all.
yeah, no, it's still running strong in my setup. I've had it since it first released, actually. I guess that was mid-September.
Yeah.
Still really enjoying it. I feel like it's probably one of my top delays in Euro ever.
Damn.
It's versatile enough that I keep finding myself working it into like every patch in some fashion. And it's straightforward enough with an interface, I think, that is brilliant. So I keep going back to it. I really do love the interface. Like everything is labeled. It's all sliders. Everything makes sense. There's not too much button combos. There's a couple that we've discussed previously. Like you can assign the auxiliary CV modulation and all that. But yeah, it's very easy to use, very versatile. And I just think it does everything that I wanted a delay to do for the most part.
Do you still miss Mimeophone having that?
From time to time?
Yeah.
Because I liked how Mimeophone could kind of go car plusy, and then out of it seamlessly. And I also liked how you could smear the delay into almost a reverbish type of sound. But that was kind of one tricky, in my opinion, and there really wasn't a lot of versatility to Mimeophone aside from that. Whereas like with Sea Legs, you get 3 delay algorithms and a reverb that is assignable where you want it in the mix. You know, the little fog button and a noise generator. You know what I mean? It's just so much more to me for about like the same price.
Yeah, same size too, I think. Right?
Yeah, I think Sea Legs got a few more HP on it.
Okay.
I mean, ideally, I would like to have both because I feel like Mimeophone does what it does well for that one specific use case scenario. If I'm doing like percussive, very fast delay line stuff, you know. But for like tape delay simulation and all that type of stuff, Sea Legs I feel like is kind of unfuckwithable at the moment.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I would go back and forth. I just put Mimeophone back in the case the other day, but I've been using delays a ton, and that's one I've definitely been looking at. I definitely don't have room for it unless I would swap something out. But I usually Chronoblob is my favorite. Chronoblob 2.
So Chronoblob 2 is a big favorite of mine as well, but I use it in VCV. I don't have the physical version of it anymore. Yeah, but in VCV I use it a lot.
I love that thing.
It's solid. It makes me kind of want to get the hardware version of it too. I just don't want to dedicate too much space for delays right now.
Yeah. It's a balance.
Yeah. But that's my number 2.
Nice.
So, I hate puns. And I just made one earlier, and I apologize to all the listeners because I felt no shortage of shame in making it. I have to admit, it wasn't even the first one today. So the house behind ours, they're doing demo work. So they're just ripping a bunch of shit out and just like leaving it on the back porch. And this morning, again, we've established we're old. So what do? You get up, you make coffee, and you look around and you neb around the neighborhood, see what all your neighbors are doing, and sort of like the pulling the blinds down and
community watch.
Exactly. So I look out and I see all this demo work, and there's just these big piles of wood that they've thrown out on their porch, and nails are just sticking out. They didn't bother to like bend them down, so it's this big pile of just gnarly nails sticking out everywhere. And stand there, old man, with his coffee, and I go, nailed it. I felt so much shame. Like I was like, oh fuck, I may need to just cancel today. Like just go back into bed. I can't do it. I felt fucking terrible.
You made a dad joke.
I seriously, it was like, yeah, part of me died. So yeah, but moving on. My second thing, I don't know. I was in a weird mood when I made this list. So this is an award I'm giving out.
Whoa.
And it's
an award from Dave.
Yes. Is it like a silver medal or a gold? Because this is your second spot.
Oh, is this
copper?
Yeah, so this would be silver. Copper's good.
Wood?
Wood. It's wood with nails in it. Let's go with that. It's a Things I Like to See award. And for 2023, big stereo mixers. I was very obviously we brought up WMD earlier. I did want to give a shout out to pre-2023, sort of like the earlier than this.
The performance mixer.
I think needs a honorable mention. I mean,
that's another thing they mentioned. It's going to get a
is it
revision? Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
A Mark II.
Yep.
That is
sorry,
fantastic.
not to interrupt.
No. I just wanted to make sure that credits where credits due. They did this before that, but over the course of 2023. You have the noise engineering Zermixa, which I have, the board brain Excelon, and the Chaos devices, Exioc devices Ostrava. Before this, I was using a little Bafeco stereo mixer, running out of channels immediately, very little control, noisy as shit. Now that I've got a big chunky mixer with all of the bells and whistles, it's like, oh shit, this solve problems I didn't even necessarily think I was having all the time. And now that they're there, I'm like, oh, I can't live without this.
That's how it works.
Oh, absolutely. It just, and like, I even still am multi-tracking all this different stuff, but having this there and right above it, I have both the Humble Quad Operator and a Mind Phaser, which have all of these different outs and subharmonic outs. And the Mind Phaser has both the main out, Carrier has a bunch of variety of outs. The modulator has a bunch of outs, and having those being able to just throw them into a channel on the Zermixa, send envelopes and CV to them to change their volume with the expander. I was like, this would have been not impossible. May have actually been impossible before that. Like it would have just taken so much space and head like to get all of that working. Where now I'm just boop 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 plugging it in. It just kind of singing in a way that is very hard to describe, and now I'm like kind of hooked on it.
Yeah. That's how I couldn't get rid of the Frap one. And if I wasn't super happy with it and I had room, I think the board brain one would be calling my name because it's got a pair of stereo sends and returns, and you can CV that send on every channel. And it's got that regular out and then the AB, or it's got two sets of outputs and you can kind of use buses on it. And it's just like, it ticks all the boxes for me, but I don't need it and I don't have room.
Cause I tried that, also at NobCon because they were there. And at the time I was between the two. Honestly, the main thing was the fact that it's significantly bigger. It's like it's 48 HP.
It's big and there's a ton of expanders you can get for it. Like you could have it fill up a row pretty easy, I think. If
you got the space for it and you're inclined, I think it's well worth getting. Short of that, I would say I've absolutely loved the Zermixa noise engineering. I think it's checking all the boxes. But yeah, I just want to give that award. It's because it's multiple. I picked the Zermixa, but easily any of the other of these big stereo mixers, I think, would fit the bill. They're all really well made. So yeah, I wanted to give an award. It will be reflected in their year-end bonus.
I want a award.
Well, maybe I'll think of one before the end of this episode. So that's it for my second one. We're now on. This is now the top of the pops.
Top. I've got another bonus one. Maybe it'll be a side award, a runner up, if you will.
I also have a bonus as well.
Okay, let's do that after the top.
Yeah, I agree.
But for me,
I had a runner up.
How's that different?
Bonus.
Okay, yeah, we'll call it.
Just change it.
Well, then I got a bonus too. God damn it!
Oh yeah, top for me for the year, no question. Kind of rando purchase that I brought up last time, but the Waldorf M, which is still
running strong.
Fucking synth for me. Yeah, it's the one. I always use it when I sit down with the gear right now. It's actually the only traditional oscillator I have in my rig right now is the Piston Honda Mark I, and everything else comes from the M, processed through the modular, because the M doesn't have effects, as I mentioned before. But man, do I love running it through chains of Euro effects. And Euro effects have really good noise floor compared to like pedals and shit like that generally. And it comes out sounding like just fucking amazing to me. I love the sound quality of the M. It's a weird beast. Programming it, there's some quirks to it. I do kind of like, I get why they didn't include a mod matrix, but it would have been nice if they would have had one. But like, I don't give a shit at this point. I'll kind of fight through what I have to get to like that sound is so good. It's definitely got its niche in some ways of being like very much a wavetable synth that you can even make sound like PPG wave could sound cheesy at some points, depending on what wavetable you use if you're in like a really high register. But the quality and kind of grain you get, very similar to Cornflakes and Piston Honda in ways when you pitch shit down and use the old style oscillators, is like, and turn on, it has an option. I don't know if I mentioned this last time, the processing, there's a CPU in it before that had an error in it that was known that would happen, that would cause these overdrive glitches, called the ASIC bug glitch. And it was something to do with one of the registers getting flipped or something, and like chaos would kind of ensue. And you can turn that on and it gives you like really odd distortion.
But is it pleasant or is it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. No, I love it. I have it on most of the time now because it adds a little more body. The overall signal beefs it up a little, but still gives like a lot of clarity, but also has like a little dirty artifact business, which I think we all like to some degree in wavetables, or like the ability to access that.
I might be misremembering this, but wasn't there a mode in the OG Piston Honda that was supposed to emulate that?
Oh, I don't know.
I could be wrong.
Maybe that is the morph, when you disable smoothing, you know? Like maybe that's the one, because you could. There's morph discontinuity. You could disable the smoothing per bank, and also the one that you hold it down and it turns on or off all the smoothing to get all together. You know, like the smoothing of the oscillator wave, but then the other one was the smoothing of transitions between.
Right, so you could set like the X one to not be smooth.
Right,
and so as you sent CV to it, it was bouncing.
Yeah, much more steppy. Yeah. But definitely my top synth. Nice. It just like has sonic territory. I'm really like the stereo like depth and kind of width you can get from the sound is kind of, I just love the way it sounds. Yeah, it's a great synth.
I'm glad to hear this is a successful love story.
It's going strong. I even tried to swap it out with another synth the other day. I was like, I'll try to play with this, and it was like 15 minutes, and I had the M back in the spot.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Greg.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
My top pick isn't a module or a synth.
What?
It's a pedal. The Chase Bliss Lossy.
Wow.
Yeah. So I wrote some notes on because I didn't talk about this previously.
When did you get it?
When?
Yeah, when did you get it?
A few months ago.
Okay, so it's still qualified.
I was going to talk about it in the last episode, but I think we ran out of time. Chase Bliss Lossy.
So this is not Generation Loss. This is Lossy.
No.
So I ignored it when it was first announced because I've proclaimed my love for the Generation Loss in here. I've owned, I guess it was the 3 different versions of it over time. I have the current iteration now. I still like it very much. So when Lossy was announced, I was like, I don't need that. You know what I mean? Like, I watched the demos. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it makes your audio sound like a bad MP3. Don't care. Like, I had no interest in it at all. but I do love things that degrade sound.
Right.
So like I was curious about it like a month after it was out. Some demos came up that kind of caught my interest, especially the freeze modes. I was like, oh, I didn't know this thing could go into like spectral territories. I thought it was just kind of like meant to sound like literally like a lossy audio file, like an MP3 at like, low bit rate.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that it was doing other things than that. So got one kind of on impulse and immediately fell in love with it. And it's been in my setup ever since. I have it sitting right next to my gen loss. I usually have it running into the gen loss. I feel like the two of them make an incredible combo of just every type of sound degradation you can imagine, between the two of them. You got your pure digital artifacting and spectral smearing, and then gen loss, you got your tape saturation and your warbly fun stuff.
So what are you sending this mess of degradation?
Everything.
Okay.
I've been running percussion through it, synth lines through it, just weird noise through it, like finding new ways to use it. It has a CV input and it has some onboard LFOs using the dip switches, kind of like the gen loss, pretty much like all the, I guess, Chase Bliss stuff these days. And so I've been finding new ways to use it in that regard. It's stereo. It has a filter on it, which I think is incredible. I've said on here many times my love of bandpass filters.
Yeah.
I love bandpass filters, especially steep ones. This one can go to 96 dB slope.
Jesus.
Holy shit.
Yes, and it's variable.
Yeah.
So I think it's incredible. I wish they would release this whole pedal as a module, personally, because I would love to just hit everything with CV.
Yeah.
I know you can get into that type of territory using MIDI, but I don't really fuck with MIDI.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. It's just begging for everything to be modulated with CV, in my opinion.
Have they ever made a module?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know until really recently that used to be a plugin, or it started as a plugin.
Yeah, a very basic one. I think this is like much expanded over the plugin.
Okay.
But yeah. Yeah, and the filter it's selectable. It goes from 6, I think, to 24 to 96. 3 different modes. I might be wrong about the middle one. I know the first version, or the first slope is 6, and then the last one is 96. I forget what's in between. I've pretty much just had it locked on 96 because I just like that type of steepness.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my top pick. It's just full of like happy accidents and weird little sweet spots and spectral smearing and freezing and chopping and screwing.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that one.
Me either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Came out of left field with that one.
Plot twist.
Yeah.
Same with the M. Certainly wasn't banking on that.
All right.
What do you got, Dave?
So what
Drum
I got
roll.
is
Drum roll.
I'm not good at reading the brief or doing the assignment. So for my top is the best interview that we did in 2023.
Whoa.
And it goes to the award goes to episode 44, our interview with Paul Schreiber.
That's pretty good.
Got mad at dude.
So yeah, that was a fantastic experience. Amazing human being. Glad we got to talk to him. Mainly just because we were talking about 2023 highs and lows.
Yeah.
That was a genuine high. I was very nervous about fucking it up ahead of time.
Sure.
Within minutes, put me at ease. Great time. So listeners, if you've not already checked it out, episode 44, our interview with Paul Schreiber. That's my top thing.
I like it.
Yeah, for 2023. So now we have a bonus round. Sounds like we all have bonuses.
Bonus round runner-up.
Nick, would you like to start?
It would. Mine, I even forgot that this happened in the last year that I built one of these, but is the Atov Project 16N slider controller.
Ooh.
Which is a bank of 16 faders, and it sends out MIDI and CV simultaneously. And I didn't realize how much I liked having a bunch of controls that I could put into one interface that could span across my entire modular. And it has there's a bonus to the bonus, is the companion module from I forget the name of the company right now. Big Music Limited or something like that. They make a module called Shifty. And what it does, yeah, I know, right? Is the 16N has dip switches inside of it that you can change to make it go from, I think, 0 to 5 volts, from 0 to 10 volts, like on the range of the, voltage that's being sent from a slider.
For each slider has their own dip?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is cool, but it's inside there and you have to like kind of open it up. The Shifty module, all it does is it's assuming, I think, from a 0 to a 5 volt slider, and it will scale it from 0 to 10 volt. And then it will also do it bipolar from -5 to +5. And you can select those options, and it's nice. You can kind of get whichever one you want, because some modules expect different values. Like my frat mixer likes the one setting more, and some other things only respond to positive voltages. Some things want bipolar. So it's nice to be able to just switch all those on this like 8 HP module without having to open the thing up all the time. Especially for the type of stuff that I'm doing now, which can be longer, ambient, but not necessarily droney stuff. Having the ability to make like a bunch of changes with my hands, not necessarily a modulator, like over time,
right,
in like one interface.
Like you're actually playing it.
Yeah, I really appreciate that type of editing now, for sure.
I got the noise engineering, the smaller version of that, or something comparable to that.
Oh, the Lapsus-OS?
Yes. Yeah. It's only 4 sliders, and it's bipolar, and takes input, adds an offset to it. You can use those sliders as an offset, or mixes in another signal.
Cool.
And then there's a mult on each one, so there's 2 outs for each of them. So it's a great little performance thing in a small package.
Having that many offsets available is really nice. It's also got I2C control, which I used to have a similar, I forget what the fuck it was called, a similar fader controller in module for the ER301, but it was always hooked up I2C. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to have one that I actually use the CV outs on, that's not in the rack. And it was a really good DIY project. It was a fun build. It's really easy, and it's not that expensive at all. Good starter project if you're just getting into DIY.
Very cool.
Beautiful case. Yeah, it's really dope. Yeah. It's my runner-up, those 2.
I hate hands-on control.
I know. It's just 4 marbles controlling everything.
I want CV to control everything for me.
You're just sitting like 20 feet away. Like you're not even near it. Sitting in another room.
I did do that the other day. I had this ambient patch going, and I really liked it. And then I decided I was going to clean my house, and I just turned it up really loud, and I just let it go on for like 20 minutes while I was like running the vacuum, doing the dishes.
Nice.
It was neat.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, it was like this weird, complicated generative patch I came up with, and yeah, I could just walk away.
So what's your runner-up?
My runner-up was Mojave.
Qubit
Electronics Mojave. It was not strong enough to make it to my top 3. For some of the reasons we've already mentioned.
Right.
I'll dip into it again real quick.
Yeah.
Just to say why. Because I do like the module.
You would recommend it to someone.
I would recommend it.
You wouldn't talk anyone out of getting it.
Yeah.
I would too. If you understand what it does, it's good.
That's the big problem though, is understanding what the fuck it does.
Yep.
Because that interface is trash. We discussed that in the last episode. I have to say it again. You got 14 HP of module, right? And within that you have 20 ins and outs, 11 knobs, 7 buttons, and only half of these have labels. And the ones that do have labels are named weird.
Yeah.
So is this begging for like a grayscale update to the panel that actually labels shit?
I don't think you could.
I don't think you could.
Oh, really?
There's no way you could fit labels on there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's my biggest complaint about it, and that's why I didn't make it to my top 3, is that like while I feel Qubit kind of did a great job with it, and I feel like it's probably one of their strongest releases since their first granular release.
Yeah.
Why can't I remember the name of it?
Nebula.
Nebula, thank you. I almost said Nautilus, but that's the delay. Yes, Nebula. So I don't know, they do good things with granular stuff, but I feel like trying to make the module be the same size as some of their other recent releases kind of shot themselves in the foot with this one because it needs to be bigger. It needs to be properly labeled. It just needs more breathing room on that panel, in my humble opinion.
No, I agree. They tend to put a bunch of functions into one, like the turn it left and it's feedback, turn it right and it's reverb. You know, that kind of shit kills me sometimes. I don't want to remember much.
That's the thing
stuff.
too. Like half those knobs, even though only half are labeled, like some of them you have to remember, okay, these ones are like bipolar knobs.
Yeah.
And some of them aren't. And some of them do things and interact with other ones. And it's like, I get it. It's meant to be explored, but this is one reason why I don't really get along with make noise modules, is that I can't stand shitty interfaces. Or at least what I call
or
a shitty interface. Like, sure, exploration should be encouraged, but so should a firm understanding of what everything is doing.
Right.
There's no reason why you can't do both, in my opinion. But I, after playing with it for like the last 2 months, I kind of don't have to keep referencing the manual anymore, except for some of the color codes.
Right.
But I do remember what everything does now physically.
What difference does it make? You're not even in the same room when it's on, so it shouldn't even matter.
True.
It does sound good. I think the sound quality of Mojave is excellent.
It does sound good, yeah, and it is kind of one tricky, but it does what it does well. There's not much else that can do that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, making it the same size as like Databender or Nautilus and things like that, I think was kind of a fail. It should have been about the size of Nebula, probably.
Right.
But so yeah, it earned a runner-up award, but not a top 3 pick for 2023.
That's fair.
What's your bonus?
Stern but fair. So I was between a couple things, couple of runner-ups. It was between Deluge Community Firmware, which is great, but that's a little boring. So my runner-up, which is a little bit more exciting, Mind Phaser. And that's also like weirdly maybe doesn't qualify since this is a repress.
True.
So, the original street date was much, much earlier.
There was only like 20 copies of it, though, right? Or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I say that, yeah, we'll definitely count that as 2023 release.
Excellent. Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know how much I've gone into it in the past. I know I talked about it at one point, so I don't know if I need to dive into it. However, I've been spending a lot more time with it, and it replaced the 3 bodies, which I never really clicked with. This is now just there's so much variety that it's not overwhelming, but there definitely is that weird feeling sometimes of like, I got to stop touching this because I like where it's at right now, and I know if I keep screwing with this, I'm going to go just 180 or off on a tangent somewhere else. So it's good or bad. It's good and bad, in that that expanse of what it can make is amazing, but you do kind of have to, oh god, stop fucking with it. Has the multiple outs, the internal modulation, and then all of those being overridden, just makes it so like if you just want to sit there with just this, you can make amazing stuff. Or you want to start feeding it modulation, envelopes and gates and sequences. It's fantastic. The multiple outs, like I mentioned earlier, feeding that into the Zermixa and mixing all of those and coming up with different different parts coming in and out. It's sitting right beside the Humble Quad Operator. They are significantly different. Even though fundamentally there's a lot of overlap in the way that they on paper work, just completely night and day. Right. And I think like the Quad Operator is like, I'm sitting down and I know where I'm going and I'm sort of on my path to get there, and it's going to help me get there.
But which one is the best, Dave?
I can't say. I know
too different.
Not a lot to have choices. It's got to be the best.
I can't. I honestly, like, I'm not even being a jerk because they really do.
No, I'm just being a jerk. I'm just so tired of all these threads all the time. Like, what's the best complex oscillator? What's the best analog
the one
filter?
That wins.
Well, I will get out of having to answer this because the Mind Phaser is a complex oscillator. Quad Operator is an FM matrix.
True.
So they're different enough that I can avoid having to answer this question.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, that was like really like it's like a politician level shit. Like, yeah, it was. Yeah, let me not answer your question.
Deflected that question like a boss.
like some Neo and Matrix, just bullet time around that. Yeah, I'm not going to answer that because they really, they're both fucking amazing. So yeah, but yeah, if anyone's interested in the Mind Phaser, it's big, it's expensive, it's not a trivial buy. If you're interested, you probably should get it.
I definitely like Joey Blush's demo of it.
Yeah.
I always felt like kind of, at least with my time with it, the quad operator kind of felt like that. You had to get kind of safe crackerish with it to find the exact spots where just like, yes, there it is. You know, so many knobs and they all interact with each other, and you just gotta like,
and like one little change will have like a cascading effect.
I wish they would release a quad operator expander where it was just a single button and just randomize everything. And maybe a knob to adjust the amount of randomness. Just roll the dice.
Fucking hate that idea. Fucking hate it. Hate it. No, that actually would be fucking
When it comes
amazing.
to FM shit, I'm all about that life, personally.
I actually just started digging into the randomization on the M last night, which is really like blown out.
Yeah.
You can do it like, how much do you want to randomize per part and create like that and have it like generate. It's dope.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because I'm lazy.
Great way to just break shit up.
No, because I'm a creature of habit, and I'll get into the same fucking routine over and over with modules, and sometimes being able to break out of that is like, oh yeah, I can do other things than what I've been doing over and over and over.
Do you want this button to also be like remote, so you can go in another room and like click
or CVable? Yeah. So I could have generative gates generating random FM voices for infinity. Yes, I would love that. Not even joking. I think that would be amazing.
So you really shit all over my my bonus.
I'm not shitting on it.
I still want the Rainmaker that's just like stereo in and out and a randomized button on it.
I loved that random button on there. A big red random button. I fucking loved it.
But like nothing else. It's really just nothing like a 2 HP module that just has
4 jacks, 1 button.
But you could also go through the menu on that thing and select what it was randomizing. I loved that.
Yeah, that was the key.
And you could CV it. You could hit it with a gate. It was great. So that's our top 3 and runner-ups, huh?
Yes, well, it was 2023.
So all the positive.
Well, and I mean, my other note is mostly just looking to the future.
I have some future stuff. I also have some disappointments of 2023.
Got some future shit too.
But, do you have any negative stuff?
Oh yeah, no, I do.
Yes,
because I'm such a positive person, just a beam of light and joy. I don't actually have anything for this section.
The fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, everything was just sunshine and daisies for me, all 2023.
God, dripping with sarcasm too.
I didn't sell it. You have a couple?
Yeah.
Go ahead and start then.
Take it away.
Let me pick from the list. I forgot actually that this was the year of the Cosmix Pro, which I do consider to be a letdown for me in some ways. Slider behavior. I know we talked about that on a previous episode. I think they were going to modify it or something, but it just wasn't the mixer for me. So I listed it as a letdown. Not much else to go into. Aurora and Mojave, those kind of were. I kind of miss Aurora, not so much Mojave. I think I was just looking for the wrong thing with Aurora at the time when I was looking for reverbs, and like you don't go to that looking for a reverb. It's its own thing.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah. Like I actually repurchased Aurora this year, and because I came back at it with, I'm not buying this as a reverb mindset.
Yeah.
And I like it a lot more. Because it can kind of dip into the territories that Lossy can. Like I was just talking about, you can get into some weird spectral smearing and audio degradation, which I enjoy. So I like it again.
Yeah. So now I'd give it another shot. I would probably have a better go around this time, but my mentality for music is a little different too than it used to be. At least in this past year.
So those were not like devastating lows. Those were more like just disappointments.
Yeah.
That's actually how I labeled my negative list, was disappointment.
Yeah.
Not devastating lows.
No, there's nothing devastating. I think we avoided, or at least, I avoided anything like that. Push 3, kind of in some ways, Ableton. I got standalone. I got it right when it came out. I've been using Ableton since the first beta. And so close, but like they're taking forever forever to update it. You can tell they've definitely shifted over to Live 12 development in some ways. I was not into the beta testing process with what little I engaged in, and certain thing, it's just taken a while for it to be functional in a way that would work for me, and I'm just not into that workflow right now. So it's kind of a me problem. It's something I'm going to hold on to because I think it'll be useful, and I think there are many awesome positives. It's clearly like it's amazing they got it working at all, but it's still I think the rollout's been a little bit shitty in some ways. Or at least they're definitely not very transparent about any sort of roadmap or when they're going to get stuff fixed. Like the MIDI clocking stuff, I think is still just in the one beta. I don't know if they rolled it out in the full version yet to be able to like have MIDI in. Like you couldn't even sync it for a while. It could only be master.
Are the updates to that in Ableton, or do it have their own separate updates?
It's its own separate, like because you can update it right from the device because it has Wi-Fi. So you'll open it up and it'll be like, I've got an update or whatever, and you can just do it from there.
Okay.
Which can take a while because it's like gigabytes over Wi-Fi, which isn't. It still takes its time.
Right.
Innovative and cool, but I think premature. I'm sure they had to ship it.
Do you think there's a chance that maybe there's something really cool in 12, Ableton 12? That
I think just the future of using Max for Live with that. The more they can integrate those, and if you can make your own instruments and interfaces, like that shit's kind of next level. And some of the stuff in 12 looks insane. They've taken some ideas from the Hapax and blown them out. They're like generative stuff in there, Euclidean stuff. Like nice. Live 12 looks crazy, but I'm really stuck on my ways right now of using these couple hardware devices and still not wanting to look at a computer screen too much when I'm having music time.
I'm the exact same way. Again, having gone from living in Ableton to I turn it on whenever I need to record, or I have an FFT running so I can see what's coming in, but it's real minimal use now. Yeah,
I don't even have I have this set up. It's a little desk in front of these speakers in front of like my records and that part, but the computer interface is on like a rack in front of me, and I just put the laptop like to the left of me, and I arm the channels and hit go, and I don't like interact with it too much at all.
I'm kind of the opposite these days. I mean,
well, you're deep in VCV too.
Deep within VCV, yeah. So VCV kind of tricks my brain a bit.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look like I'm in a DAW. It looks like I'm messing with a modular. And I can tolerate that. So I've been using it more and more throughout the year.
I've done some VCV patching in the last year for sure. I agree. It's a different, I can forget a little more because you're still just doing the thing, connecting some modules together.
I think especially because I try to stick with modules that exist in hardware or I've owned or currently own too. So that like, I know it's all just aesthetics, but it matters a lot to me. You know what I mean? It makes me feel like I'm not in the box really, but
that's why I picked up a Typhoon actually, because I was I think in Virginia over the Christmas break and using my laptop and fucking with Supercell in VCV, and I was like, damn, like really enjoying some of the features, and then found out about Typhoon and was like, oh shit, I gotta try that.
So but nothing on VCV Rack made any of your lists this year, Greg?
No.
I like the Alm stuff is cool. I like too that they update like PAMS Pro and the VCV version at the same time, and they're on the same software.
Well, they need to update it again because I found a bug.
Did you report it?
Fuck no.
Then how are they going to know to fix it?
Are they paying me to be their quality control? Hell no, they aren't. I paid money for that module.
And I
am pissed.
And earlier, I deputized you a deputy QA. I take it back.
That's a $20 VCV Rack module. Wow. And it's fucking crashing, Dave.
You can't just send them like an email. It'll take you 2 seconds.
I guess I could and probably should. I honestly just found this 2 nights ago. And I haven't had much time to make music in the last 2 days since then, but yeah, it was on my list of like, I should probably contact them about this. I did contact VCV the last time I found a bug in a drum module, and they were actually really quick to respond and wanted to know details and said that they tried to iron that out quickly, because again, that was a paid for module. Right. So it's good to see that level of response.
The synth tech stuff in there was cool, if there was one like new thing from the last year to pick from. I did get those because I just want to support like that idea of more synth tech stuff being in VCV.
So
they were pretty inexpensive. I think it was like $50 for the bundle or something like that. Wasn't
if
too
that,
bad.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was pretty cheap.
It wasn't too bad.
I want to see Paul release more of his stuff in VCV.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
So wait, what other negative things do we have on our list here? Nick, do you have any more?
I do have one left, actually. And it's not negative as much as it was slightly disappointing. But I don't know how to pronounce this either. They're Ukrainian Blukak or Blukak?
Blukak. I don't know. I was saying Blukak.
Blukak endless processor, which was kind of a hot module from the last year, and one that was hard to get for a while. One that didn't have an expander, which I almost can't imagine how not having the expander that lets you control the pitch, and then had the shift button or something like that. Without controlling the pitch, that would have been a deeply boring module, even though it was cool in ways that, all right. So what it does is you can, because they make it a little confusing, it will sample the spectral signal from an audio signal or take the spectral image of it and kind of resynthesize what you send it in this drone that loops that never clicks, even though it does like phase in and out very subtly in somewhat unexpected ways or like durations. Yeah, you can take a cricket sound or a saxophone or whatever, put it in there, and it'll make like a tone that represents that spectral energy. The expanders let you shift the pitch, and you can shift the pitch down until like very, very low and only up maybe an octave or two. But shifting the pitch down on that was the most fun. But I realized
it goes down to like infinity, right?
Yeah, to an infinity pretty much, like the assimilator does. But I also realized, and this is more of a me thing, that it was like a perfect torture device for me because I can't, like drones can bother me sometimes of like pure tones. So I was like, oh, you got yourself this thing. And it's kind of like, it's the exact thing you can't stand to hear. But I needed to try it.
What if the expander was just like something that like punched you in the dick?
Punch you in the dick.
Just like a perfect cacophony of things to upset you.
Send it a gate and just a fucking glove comes out of somewhere in the room and punches you right in the cock.
Bangkok.
Bangkok endless processor.
So you didn't click with it.
No. No, I didn't. It's a cool idea. I would love to see them, even though I don't know if I would take it way further, the idea, and let you do some things to that spectral signal that isn't just change the pitch, maybe window it a little or something like that. Some way to break it up.
I agree 100%. Like, I bought your endless processor and I ended up coming to the same conclusions you did. I was like, oh, this kind of drives me mad. Like, it's just so static.
Yeah.
There's like, aside from the pitch, there's no CV functionality really. And yes, you can layer a couple multiple sounds with it. I think it was 8 in total, which is neat. It reminded me kind of like how Instro R-Bar can do that. Like, you can kind of create like 8 layers of things to come up with a new sound. But yeah, the lack of control and just how static that snippet of sound is once you take it.
Yeah.
And for the price, I was like, this is incredibly boring, and it does exactly what the fucking Rossum Panharmonium does.
Yep.
Which has a crazy amount of control and CV ability. So I was like, well, why am I fucking with this?
Yeah.
If I'm not needing that layering, which the Panharmonium can't do,
right?
Then I don't need this. And so I ended up parting ways with it shortly after I got it from you, and immediately turned around and repurchased a Panharmonium, which I'm completely loving again, and regret ever selling in the first place. But when I did part ways with it, it was because it was like really big, and I was trying to downsize to smaller modules. But no, it's worth the extra rack space. It's an incredible module, and I think it blows the endless processor away. Yeah. Maybe some people don't think that it's a fair comparison, but I don't know. They're both doing a spectral snapshot and resynthesizing what you put into it.
So even if they're not the exact same thing, they're occupying the same tiny margin.
I would say yes. Yeah. Plus, Panharmonium has the freeze option, so you maybe the buffer isn't as long, but with all the other options you have, you can do more with a short burst of sound.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
For me too, with it, I had a moment where I had the cornflakes next to it
Mm-hmm.
because I was like trying to compare them, and every time I would take a loop with it, I'd be like, maybe we'll just do it in the cornflakes, and you can do a longer loop, and it still does clickless looping, and you can do like 10 different things to it and CV it, and it was, I had that immediate moment where I was like, oh fuck, like, why did you get this? You're gonna sell it.
Yeah.
And I was impatient and got it when it was not as available, and got it from Nightlife Electronics, and it was cool that they had it and shipped it to me, but I paid way too much for that thing. Learned my lesson.
Yeah, that was on my disappointment list as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely seen eye to eye on that one.
So close, but so far.
So Greg, what else is on your disappointment list?
3 things. 2 of them from
Jesus Christ. Buckle up, everyone.
Yeah.
2 of them I already talked about a lot. They're both Make Noise products, the Strega and the Spectrophone.
Yeah.
I already ranted about both of those, so I won't waste too much time.
But just reminding everyone.
Interface sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. The interface sucked.
Yeah.
On both of them.
Yeah. And the Strega, you just didn't.
The Strega is supposed to be supposedly like a performance instrument, and I found it kind of completely counterintuitive to use as a performance tool. It felt more like a set and forget and quickly hit record before you lose the thing that you found on there. I don't know. It's just like, felt like swimming through a sea of shit to find a gem every so often. You know what I mean? It was just... And
that does not sound like your workflow right now.
Not my workflow ever. And it's my biggest problem with Make Noise most of the time. So yeah. And then the third one was the VanEck X. The fact that it was impossible to get one.
Yeah.
And that the pre-orders fell through, which I had for over a year. I was supposedly in the first 10 people to reply, and that ended up meaning nothing. And I just got referred to the endless queue of pre-ordering through Perfect Circuit as the North American retailer of choice. So I've just opted not to get one for the time being.
Have you thought about getting the original one back? Because I know you
impossible.
Sold it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Impossible.
Yeah.
I have thought about it, yes, and it's impossible. It's nowhere to be found. One person posted one not that long ago for like $1,000 or something.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's kind of insane.
Yeah. Gouging's real out there.
It's real bad. Yeah. That was going to be a loose follow-up for my disappointments of 2023. I guess I'll just dip into it because it ties in with this all together. It's just the market right now is incredibly disappointing. It's insanely difficult to get what you want in a timely manner. Everything's being forced to go through pre-orders or Kickstarters. People buying stuff just to flip at twice the price. I get it. It's kind of like a first world problem to complain about, is that you can't purchase what you want when you want it. But
right.
I'm not a fan of Kickstarters and pre-orders.
Well, and a lot of this feels a little bit either manufactured scarcity or just an odd way to do business.
Or forced scarcity.
Yeah.
Which is the thing that irks me the most.
Right. And I think like I don't know if I have such a bad experience with Kickstarters for board games, not even module stuff. And I know I've talked about it in the past. It will take a lot to convince me to back a Kickstarter now that isn't from a company that I've done or like gotten stuff from in the past and they've delivered.
Right.
And I don't have that relationship with any module or electronics manufacturer to the point where I'd be like, I'm going to kickstart this thing that you're doing. Because it's just, at the end of the day, they can not deliver and that's it. There's no recourse. You're just fucked. You're just out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at least with pre-orders, you can get your money back most of the time if you decide to cancel, but it's still...
I mean, I had to pre-order for the TBC2 for years. Like, even just the decision of like, do I hop out now? Like even like trying to figure out when to get off that train is a difficult thing to do. Because I'm like, if I cancel my pre-order and then tomorrow there's an announcement that they're delivering them all, I'm like, oh great, I waited 3 years and then got out at the last second, is like, well, I might as well stick this out.
Well, I even said in 2022 in one of these episodes that I was like done with Kickstarters and pre-orders for 2023. And I did manage to do that except for the VHX.
Yeah.
Right.
And then that just blew up in my fucking face. And I was like, the one thing I made an exception for was that, and that's how it resulted.
Yeah.
So I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, if things aren't available in stock, then to me it just doesn't exist. I'm not gonna fuck around with pre-orders. I'm not gonna fuck around with Kickstarters.
I mean, there's also just, if it doesn't exist, you're not using it. Use what's available.
Exactly. That's my point. Like, I'm just not gonna even consider that it's there. Like, instead of sitting there and being like, oh, if only I had this VHX, this patch would be so much better. I'm just gonna try to get out of that type of mindset altogether. Like, work with what I have, not think about things that are just floating around in the ether that may or may not ever physically exist or be purchasable.
I mean, it just seems like a good mentality to have. Yeah. Full stop. Like in everyday life, to just not, pine for the thing that you can't have.
Sure. I mean, I just think it's shifted too. Like, the pre-order used to mean like, oh, it's on the way. It's coming from the manufacturer. We'll have it this week or so. Put in your pre-order now and we'll ship it out when we get it. And now it's getting to the point where like, oh, they might not even have manufactured these yet, but people like Perfect Circuit are going to take a pre-order for it. We have no fucking timeline, no guarantee when it's actually going to be released or shipped to you. They won't give you any numbers because in some cases they just don't have them.
Right.
Won't tell you what your line is in queue. Are you going to be the first batch or the sixth batch that'll come out in a year from now? You know what I mean? So it's just too many variables, and I think it's horseshit.
So fuck it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. VHX kind of just drove that point home for me. I did read that he's quitting his job to dedicate to building VHX like full time.
Damn.
And that he's expecting to make another batch of like 250 or so in the near future. So if one ever shows up as like actually in stock at a store, I will buy it then. I haven't given up on it completely.
Right.
But yeah, aside from that, I'm just not going to waste any mental capacity fretting about it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It was disappointing, but so it goes.
So what other disappointments do you have?
That was it.
That was it.
That was all three.
Oh, yeah. Wow. So now we got that out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's turn our gaze to the future.
The year of Blade Runner.
That's true. Yeah. Also, Wait, no. Roy was already built a couple years ago.
He was built in 2020, I think. Right?
Yeah. Nick, would you like to kick us off with? I don't know. Is this predictions or what we hope for? You know what? Whatever you want.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a weird. Mine's almost like so basic and duh in some ways, but I think the future trend of things will be something like the Bastel Neo Trinity, which I picked up recently, where it's like,
you motherfucker.
It's
you
like,
motherfucker, you stole my future. How dare give me my future back?
It's like,
yeah, I have the same thing.
It's kind of where it's going. It's like conglomerations of things that you would have a hard time, or you would need a full modular to patch put into a module because all the surface mount shit allows for that. That board is dense as fuck when you look at it. It's packed with goddamn components.
So I called it the year of the combo.
Yeah.
And the other one was going to be the Mega Milton from Ulm.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of advantages. Like you said, you can pack a lot on there. It facilitates compact systems in a way that others don't. And it's a multi-tool like the Disting, but it isn't a single function like the Disting.
Right.
And to the same degree, Ornament and Crime is a little bit of that. Like, there's 200 things it can do, but only one of them at a time or two of them at a time. Having these combo, these sort of like curated selections of things that work really well together, having those jam-packed onto these single boards, cost-effective, space-effective, and you look at some of these and you go, wow, that is really clever. I do actually want all of those. I don't need this to be in 8 modules. Give me one of them. They can be normal to the inputs and outputs can be normaled. There's a ton of advantages to it.
Yeah. You get like 6 modulators in that and like 10 HP. And it is like, when you actually like go through the manual and look to understand it, there's a point where it just kind of clicks and it's like, oh, this is actually really simple. Because that module in particular, like the way they presented it was kind of confusing. Mm-hmm. It's just like an internal gate and CV recorder. And the thing that clicked for me is like, all the shift from the LFO to the envelope to the CV recorder modes is different ways it handles that recorded offset and the gates internally. Like it's all like the same shit. And that's one of the nice things is you'll just record a sequence and just like flip through them and be like, oh, that one sounds cooler than what I thought. You know, that was like one of the hidden surprises. But the way they use their see-through parts in the panel, like to be backlit for different modes to show you like, oh, right, D in this D through F thing is like the pentatonic scale or something like that. There's a lot of like easy reminders that make it, I don't really have to look at the manual very much for it, except for like some of the combos that just aren't on there. But it's it's a really good design. I'm impressed with how well Bastel put that together, actually. And now I'm like even more curious about some of the recent stuff. Like I was looking at the Soft Pop 2, actually. It's nothing that I'm going to try, but that's a cool device. And they're pretty fucking good with their designs.
Yeah.
Like the Aikito's really cool too. And I know we talked about it a little before. It's nothing like I need, but it's a nice grouping. It's like towards that path of like these unique combinations, I think, which is like really cool to see. It's the only place to go too.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and you can do it in ways that I think don't use necessarily like always an ARM processor or something like that. So.
And they're good peeps. We hung out with them that one years back at NobCon.
Yeah, like their design.
There, but
yeah, they were cool.
Shit, what year is that? I don't think we've seen them since, right? It's been years.
That was a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on your I was furious.
You chimed in very perfectly.
That we had the same thing though.
I figured you might be on a similar page.
Get on my fucking brain. No, I also kind of just looking at these ones that have popped up recently that all are having that same vibe, and all of them, or at least all the ones that have popped up recently, I've been like, oh, that's clever too. That's clever too. None of them seem like, nah, that's kind of phoned in. You just threw a couple things against the wall and that's what stuck. It's like you thought about what are these things that you're kind of using a lot or work well together. The fact that they're being well thought out, I think, is also making it a little bit more exciting versus just like, oh, I guess that's good for beginners or people without a system. To me, I'm like, oh shit, I can take out 3 things and replace it with this.
Especially if you can do it without using a screen too, then I'm even more interested in what you're going to do because it's going to like focus you instead of, love Paul, but the E352 is like a menu nightmare kind of, and you end up like, it doesn't feel great to use it all the time. I feel like I'm navigating this like old interface and like, I don't know.
Yeah, I want more stuff surfaced as much as possible. So.
That's where I'm at too. Yeah. I would rather you're the man spreader module. Like, pick less functions and expose them more versus like, trying to cram all that meta shit into like 14 HP like a Mojave or something like that. Like cut your scope in half and like give more surfaced options that I don't want to have to look at a fucking manual, when I use a module. I don't really.
I've always kind of felt that way. That's why I've always tried to avoid menu modules in the first place, really. But
I've flipped on that. I think I was a little bit more accommodating to menus and menu diving, and had a little bit of a more like, oh, it's fine. But now, I don't know. Maybe it's a specter of death upon me. It's like I don't have that kind of time anymore. I got to get this shit done.
I feel the same way. That's why I won't get too far into it. But got a Rossum simulator recently, and like that design is. I've looked at the manual like 1 or 2 times to realize there was a crossfade feature for like making your own wavetables. And you never have to look at anything. You just kind of guess. You're like, oh, I bet it's this. And like, yeah, it is. That's what it is. And everything's one menu level deep. That's why there's so much on the panel. I'm learning like sometimes the panel is very intimidating because that's everything going on versus something where, not to super rag on mutable, but just like the hidden modes and options. Like I'm not down. I don't want that in my life.
Yeah. Well, Greg, you're the only one left. Unless you actually picked this too and you've just been quiet this whole time.
I didn't really have any predictions this year aside from like, I don't know. I was just kind of thinking about things the other night when I was reading the thread on ModWiggler about Patchworks. And it just kind of, it was interesting to me because like a lot of manufacturers were folding or being absorbed and all that stuff since the part component shortage and all that. But some are bouncing back, obviously, like WMD, and stock overall for certain things seemed to make some sort of comeback this year. But one thing I didn't really consider was retailers.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting to see Patchworks go under.
I mean, Patchworks is an extreme example of retailer. Like, that would, in the best of times, it seems like that may not have been the best business model.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially when you look at compared to like Control in Brooklyn.
But it goes. It's telling in that there was a point in time where that did seem feasible.
I guess that's true. I mean, that may be arguable, especially after watching that interview. There's a lot of suggestions that this was screwed
from the start.
Yeah.
Sure. So maybe they shot too high. But I'm still curious, like, how many other people have been planning for that type of growth and are not seeing it, and are we going to see the repercussions of that in 2024? Are we going to see a scale down of like retailers or the market in general, or people,
consolidation?
Consolidation.
You may end up with just Perfect Circuit's and then that becomes problematic because they dictate the terms. Where else are you going to go?
Straight to the source, kind of like WMD is doing.
Right, but not everyone's offering that.
No, but that's
a real fucking hassle.
That's the next point I was going to bring up.
Apart. Right. This dude like crumbled under the pressure of the Excel spreadsheet, you know?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't even really try. You know what I mean? That's my point. Like, is that going to be the responsibility now from a manufacturer's standpoint to not only build this shit, but also figure out how to get it to people?
Yeah.
And to, are they going to trim back on retailers and kind of go more direct, or are things going to be more in like a Kickstarter direction? I don't know. I feel like we're going to see changes overall with the market this year.
Agreed. I think though that there is something to be said about having a distributor where you take, you made 100 modules, you put all of those on one crate and you send it to them and they deal with divvying it up. Versus, we got 100 orders and they're all going to different places and I've got to package each of these up and I've got to go and send them and they're going to have different customs for the process of actually getting things to customers.
Yeah.
That is a logistics nightmare, even on a small scale.
Yeah. And not to forget too that like,
absolutely.
I mean, it's pain. I think for some people it's especially a pain.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, I've done self-releases, right? You run a record label, you know what it's like to ship shit.
That's why I'm saying it's a pain in the ass.
But if you're passionate about it, you do it. It's not that hard to go to the post office, fill out a form, and
but it's also
send shit out.
The convenience of literally just put these all on a single crate and send them out. Yeah. That's cheap, fast. That's work that you don't have to do.
But are you getting paid for it? Like, because it seems like with Patchworks, they weren't paying
right, but like
manufacturers for these orders. Yeah,
but like a place like Perfect Circuit, you send it to them. You send them an invoice. You get paid. The other thing that that provides is people can bundle and get different things from different manufacturers in the same place, and they can save on shipping.
Sure.
The problem we could end up seeing now is you want 5 modules that may have been one shipping cost from one retailer. It's now 5 shipping costs, and shipping right now is fabulously fucking expensive.
Yeah, true.
So if we're buying all of these a la cartes from all these manufacturers, we're actually going to start end up paying a little bit more. For that.
For example, that helical that I just bought, I had to pay premium shipping from Japan instead of waiting till I could get it from Perfect Circuit along with some other stuff and consolidate and get free shipping. Yeah, like.
And I have a full-time job, and it's one of those things where like I get orders in for these records. Going to the post office is a hassle. Customs forms is a hassle. This shit's real fucking expensive now.
Yeah.
It changes. The price changes from day to day. I think it's a little bit more difficult to run in that model than it is to just dump it off to a retailer. I think that's a consideration that I hope people aren't taking lightly, because that's where you could end up seeing a retail or a manufacturer being like, oh fuck, we're 3 months behind because we have one person that we had do this and they can't keep up.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
and then there's the other angle to like distributor retailer, where the non-secret of like Analog Haven shadow funding like dozens of companies. A lot of like LZX, Brown Shoes Only, Russ's shit by like being like, okay, I'll buy your whole first run. Like, yeah, there's a lot of that's not going to happen as much now.
Right. So now you don't have that big investment in that first batch, where now you finished all of them and you sold 2. You sold 1. You sold 2. That that trickling in of money is going to be very difficult on some of these manufacturers where, like you said, if they're buying your first batch, that is now investment. That's now you can start paying some bills versus, fuck, these are trickling out of my house. This isn't sustainable.
Like that one recent Mystic Circuits interview where he debuted the new version of iDumb and then the video stuff he's teasing. He was talking about the video once and he's like, yeah, these are kind of fuzzy. You know why? Because like I avoided using these $5 a piece op amps that you would need 10 of for a prismatic ray. And I just used this discrete stuff because I could make it on my own. And it's like infinitely cheaper than me having to buy like hundreds or thousands of like $5 op amps, which people don't realize is like, you got to do that as like a first step before you can even recoup it all.
Right.
So it's like, it's tricky.
I think everything going to a retailer, those days are probably over.
Yeah.
But it's not, this isn't a slam dunk.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's trade-offs here, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that are surprised. Fuck.
Yeah.
We haven't sold anything in a week.
Nook.
That's actually fucking huge if you are sitting there watching those ticks.
Yeah.
That used to be the retailer's problem. It's now my problem. That's huge. Yeah, I know. I didn't mean to stamp on your point, Greg, but I do. I think there's a lot of.
Oh, you're not stamping on it. I wasn't really trying to say one way or the other. I was just saying I think we're going to see changes.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know what
Totally
is
agree.
the best course of action here. Like clearly,
I don't think anyone does.
Whatever the course of action is that keeps people able to buy things. Clearly,
Yeah, and a lot of it you might not see too. Like I don't know how many. Now it's more public, but Pittsburgh Modular being like bought by Create Audio basically. That wasn't public for a while because nobody wants. It's a sign that like we didn't sell enough or our business model changed or something. You know, you don't want to bring it up.
and Folk Tech just got absorbed by I forget who. Some microphone company or something.
Really?
Yeah, and that's why all the Folk Tech stuff is coming back in stock finally because it was out of stock for a while.
Stop paying attention to that dude. Didn't he lose the script a little?
That's why he got absorbed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. I know it's becoming available again, and they got kind of absorbed.
Oh, that's good.
And stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a positive when you're like, oh, now we have somebody else building these or something. Like, oh, shit, okay.
Like computer hardware. Like, you know, you go to a certain place that's doing all of the chassis and all of the sort of nuts and bolts that there's no reason for everyone to be independently doing all of this where one place can be really maximizing throughput and doing it for a bunch of different companies.
I mean, they might release your module that's brilliant that Michael Johnson designed and is $125 and call it Captain fucking Big O and have a big shitty panel. But like, it's still out there. And that's from what I can tell, like, I don't know, I might pick one of those up one day. But it looks like a really cool analog module that's cheap and it's all Michael shit, but it's just dumb as fuck panel and name.
Yeah.
Captain Big O?
Yeah, dude.
No, thank you.
Like part of it, like it's so shitty, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
But also like
Captain Winky.
Yeah. Like,
all right. So wait. So was that the alpha and omega of your prediction of the future?
I suppose. Yeah. I think the dream of having a Guitar Center style modular store in a major city is probably dead.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And dying with Patchworks, even though they're clinging to life support, and why I don't know, but I think that vision is dead, and I'm curious to see what 2024 will bring as far as the modular market goes.
So even if someone was like not necessarily going to mismanage their store like Patchworks, that is now a cautionary tale for everyone. Like it's really one of those things of like, oh, you're like, I've got an idea for something, and if it sounds anything like Patchworks, your responsible friends are going to be like, you know, someone tried that, right? And it failed. Like it's going to be very difficult to convince yourself that it's a successful model.
Even fucking New York City, there are only like 3 stores. Yeah. Control hasn't opened its storefront since COVID, so they've been just
4 years now.
Pickup. Yeah, 4 years.
I was there. It's about the size of this living room.
Right.
It was always a very tiny spot, and it was just kind of tucked away on a street somewhere. Like it's
the way nightlife was. Well, in fact, we weren't even sure we were at the right place. It was a non-marked door among a bunch of other in a little plaza, and you had to ring a bell, and they opened up, and then you peek inside, and you just see like synthesizers. I'm like, oh, we're in the right place. Really cool. But it was a little closet. Yeah.
Control was like a block that just basically had like not really been updated in a while. Control was the one place that had like new paint. And that's kind of how you're like, oh, I bet that's it. Or then you walked over and had a little control over it. So I think that model of tiny little, like literally boutique, I think may still be feasible, and may be like, you know, a Back to the Future thing of like everyone just kind of goes back to that. That said, it's not a very exciting place. It's not very like welcoming. No. Like you kind of have to already be on board. Like it's not going to be like, not to give Patchworks any credit for this, but like it did seem like they have events.
Didn't at one point though they were like, yeah, we should do more than like 2 events per year was an idea, and it's like, dude, fucking Russ does 2 events a year.
Yes,
you know, and Russ isn't like.
That's true. I mean,
sweating that,
especially with the space they had, the fact that they weren't doing something every fucking night is absurd. Like you have 18 fucking employees.
Yeah,
have one of them run a demo of fucking free jazz freak out night. Just come and hang out, or lunch and learn. Hey, we're going to be open on this night. We're going to show you how these things work. It's a wildly missed opportunity.
Not to toot my own horn or anything, but when I was there briefly and I patched up their system, the like dozen or so customers that came in gathered round and like were in awe of like what was happening. They're like, oh, someone's using the modular in real time. And I had that big cool industrial patch going, and people were impressed. And I think a few of them thought I worked there, and I'm like, nope, I'm just here having fun.
Sounds like you should have worked there.
And the people that did work there were like kind of jamming out. Like, and I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, why am I the only one here doing this right now? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but yeah.
So maybe it could work. It would require though a little bit more diligence than Patchwork seemed to be. To put in. It's very hard to convince yourself at this point, though, that it's going to be successful when you have such a public failure as a model. So, I don't know. We haven't really talked too much about Patchworks. I don't know if we necessarily need to get into it.
It seems like such a low-hanging fruit at this point.
It's still developing, too. It'll be interesting to see where it ends up.
I don't want to kick people when they're down.
All right. Are we done talking about the future? Are we done with what we're doing here?
I think we're done. I mean, I've got some new modules and shit, but those can wait till next time.
Yeah, let's save that for next time. Tune in next time, listeners.
Yeah, and subscribe to our Patreon. We're a pillar of the community. Your contributions will help keep us alive.
Yeah, we're almost at 20 Patreons. When we hit that point,
if we reach our goal of $275,000, we'll send you a free beer koozie.